The Match Ball.
Hello and welcome to the Match Ball for Southampton 2, Leeds 2.
Who are you?
Oh, we got him in the wrong seat. I mean, hopefully...
Who's this guy?
Yeah, it's all out of order apart from you. I'll ask you a question first then, Moscow.
Okay.
Where can you go for 10% off your legal fees?
I would go to Levi Solicitors. Nobody else.
.co.uk/the square ball.
Yeah, because I'd want the 10% off. I wouldn't want to pay full whack.
Exactly.
So that's how I'd do it. They're great people.
They are indeed.
A lot of fun.
That was annoying, wasn't it, that game?
Yeah, I'd preferred us to win that. We looked like we were coasting towards... I started to get into that vibe of, oh yeah, this is just easy, we're just going to see this out. And then they scored twice, which wasn't part of the plan, really. Especially when they all just started seeming really sad. Like, it was Bednarek that walked off and just held his head in his hands. I thought, yeah, come on, we've got these. These just want to give up. And they didn't.
Hasenhüttl was increasingly pink on the side. It just felt like I was half relegating Southampton midway through that. I was thinking they're knackered here. They're not interested.
We even got a bit of showboating in up at 2-0. We were doing passing some little triangles around them in front of the dugouts, and then Christensen just wellied it into somebody's face. And I was like, we're just having a fun time now. But somehow, when they went full penis, and we couldn't do anything to stop it.
Well, we countered with a penis, didn't we? You could see Jesse.
Very late, though.
You could see Jesse on the side very clearly saying 4-2-2-2.
Do you think that was on the note that he gave to Dan James, that it was just a big drawing of a cock and balls?
The one
that was it.
The one that Bella Ketchup nicked from his pants, as far as we could gather, because it looked to be the same note, didn't it, that he was holding? Yeah,
he just tackled because the note went to Dan James, and he was having a good old stare at it, and then he got really just pushed over, not in a penalty kind of way, just in that centre back is twice the size of Dan James kind of way. And then the next thing you know, that centre-back has got a note in his hands. It very much looked like the same one. And he really looked confused by it as well. He was trying to read it and then was looking around at the pitch going like... Normally, if it was a note about your own team, you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, got that. But he was kind of like, okay, so which one's Rodrigo? So like, what are they doing here? But for all the good it did us, I mean, we never really got back into it after they changed and pulled one back.
I mean, there was the late chance with Rodrigo, and... then the corner, which we've obviously worked on in training, that the whole process of making sure it goes to Diego Llorente on the edge of the box, because surely that's where you're most likely to get a goal.
That's one of the funniest things of the season so far. It's like, yeah, how do we rescue this match? Yes.
Because I was saying don't take a quick one, and then they did, but then Click did have a load of space over there. It was like, oh, okay, maybe they've worked on something. And then it was just squared to... Who's he squaring it to? Aronson, maybe? No.
The commentator was talking through the game as well about how much more dangerous we are from set pieces, because it was the second goal was a set piece, right? So yeah, once you saw they were taking the shot, when you thought, oh, okay, maybe we've got something planned here, and then it was like, all right, who's going to arrive here into the shot and who's going to belt it in? And it was Diego Llorente.
We did have the good corner in the first half when Christensen should have scored. It was a Rodrigo flick on at the front, wasn't it? And that was good. And then Christensen didn't have the flight of the ball at the back, so that could have changed the first half, which was, I don't know if we were we good today? I suppose we were all right, weren't we?
We were better than them. We were good for at least an hour. Like Meslier, until they scored, had not saved anything, had he? And it felt really comfortable. Like, they didn't seem to have a way through. Adams was getting nothing up front, and I was fairly confident. And then all of a sudden, it was down it was full back positions again, wasn't it? There was Christensen was out-muscled again for one of them. Again, another one of those headers that he's gone up for and lost, or a challenge that he's lost, and then it got put across to the back post, and then they scored from that. And what do we think of Chris? Can I do with you? I want to call him Rasmussen again, as you do. Rasmussen. Are we worried yet?
He wasn't great today, was he? It was more the just passing the ball aimlessly forward, which I don't know if that's just what he's been asked, is sort of to hoof it down the channel. But I did check his passing accuracy at half time, because I generally thought it might be lower than 50%, which it was just above. It was in the 60s, so he was doing all right.
He's kept it above to the end. It's 54%.
I was going to say, I've looked at full time, it's 54%. I think there was one Southampton outfielder who had a worse passing accuracy. So it's not a great look. And then for the goal, that was just weird that he sort of went up. It was an obvious chance for him to head the ball away, and he just stood there and got knocked out of the way, which isn't great.
No.
Yeah, and the first goal, was he involved? Because it came down his side. It's weird.
Adam Armstrong just ran off him on a 1-2 really quite easily.
Southampton, after they went super narrow, suddenly managed to get all the space behind our fullbacks. I guess that's how it works. I don't know. I can't pretend to understand the ways of warring penises, but that's going to be our the second goal. I mean, after the that missed header, that pass to Kyle Walker-Peters at the back was a very, very good pass. But again, Harrison, for some reason, is our left back in that situation, trying to chase the player back, and nobody was on number 7 when he scored the first goal, was he?
No, he came out. He was free at the back, wasn't he? With
Rodrigo.
You would imagine there'd be another centre back or Strauch there, and there wasn't.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, there's a lot of questions out of today, because I think my reason for asking whether we were any good or not is because the first half felt it felt very championship-y to me. There was lots of...
I've written the words "very championship-y game" on this notepad.
This is it. There was a lot of full Sky Bet football from both teams, of just the ball going backwards and forwards and
a lot of
scrambles,
hooking over heads.
Yeah, and people going in for tackles, and then because so much of both teams, I think, seems to be about getting the second ball, and then it just goes pinging everywhere, and then somebody else is coming in for the second ball, and at some point you just got to say first ball also perhaps would count. So that's why I couldn't, we were definitely better, with a better team, but whether we were playing a good match or not was quite hard to tell.
It was kind of similar last season when we played Southampton at Ellen Road, in that it was the two Red Bull nets sort of trying to throw each other over the other, and it just gets tangled up and looks really ugly. So that first half, I thought it was really ugly, but then, and it seemed to be very, I don't know if it was because of the weather and the heat, but it seemed to be very 100 to 70 and that kind of thing, where it was always slowed down, and whenever there was kind of opportunities to play the ball forward quickly, Rocker or Adams might just calm it down a little bit, and whether that was deliberate or not, I don't know. But then you looked back at half time, and even though it wasn't the most entertaining game, or it didn't have that all-in energy that the Wolves first half did, we had the better chances. Bamford had a couple. There was the Christensen one at the back post. So first half, I suppose you go, that's quite good for an away performance. Start of the second half, scoring immediately, brilliant. Looked like Southampton had given up and we were just going to coast. But then the lack of subs, are we going to say it? It was weird.
It sounded like up until that point, it seems like we've played it perfectly of getting through the first half. That's a bit of a scramble, keeping a bit of energy back, and then hitting them when we had to. So a chance from a corner, because you don't expend much energy from a corner, so the heat doesn't stop you from doing that, with the Christensen one. And then start the second half, catch them napping, go ahead, that's good, and then score from another corner. So it's quite efficient from that point of view. So if you're going to deal with the heat that way, score while they're asleep and from set pieces, fine. But then, it's strange because Marsh was talking in the week, wasn't he, about how managing MLS meant he knows loads about how to deal with hot conditions, and 5 subs will help. And I think by the 82nd minute came around, it's 2-2, and you're thinking, well, so what does that actually work out as? Where is this? How are we dealing with it? Because we don't seem to be.
What was the gap between the goals? Because it felt like after the first went in, he should definitely have made some changes.
It's 10 minutes, 72 minutes, and then 81. And in the middle of that was, I think somebody was down injured. Not a lot happened.
Dan James went down injured to sort of start their comeback, is how it felt.
Yeah.
I think he went down injured and that's when they made the tactical changes. And then what happened in the middle? I can't remember.
The note got passed around. So they scored on the 71st.
If the note said don't let them score again, then we've really gone against what was on that.
Yeah, 75, I've got the note coming on, and then 81, the ball is in the back of the net again. And that's when we counted with our own penis. We had Marsh on the sidelines going 4-2-2-2.
I never really worked out who was playing where once we made those changes, and he pointed out the 4-2-2-2.
We didn't have the ball enough to properly tell, did we? It was all just defensive scrambling for the majority of it.
That was the thing at the start of the second half, where Dan James sort of moved more out wide and Rodrigo was playing through the middle, and that obviously helped us score. But then when it did get to that last 20 minutes, you were thinking the same against Wolves. It was like, we need someone to actually run around now, which is where Rodrigo, even though he'd scored against Wolves, he was lacking in that department. So I was just expecting Marsh to turn to the bench at some point, but it wasn't until it was 2-2.
Do we put this all on Marsh then, or are we going to pinpoint individual players who we want to blame?
That's a very... I'm not used to this line of very incredibly direct question.
I'm basically allowing you to pin this on Marsh Moscow because everyone knows you hate him and wish we would reappoint Bielsa.
I don't hate him and wish we would reappoint Bielsa. I think it was... no, but I'm going to be interested to hear what he's got to say about it, because he does... he did deal with the question of the heat in advance, as I described it, saying like, yeah, I know all about this. MLS is we play in the summer and we play in hotter conditions than this, and the question is always, as he pointed out, and it's true, can you play that high energy pressing game in these conditions? And as he tells it, when New York have done that in MLS, they have, and it's worked. So he's not got a problem with it. And I suppose you could see it today, again, with the way I mentioned, where it's kind of like we did slow it down. We didn't. We tried to take advantage from set pieces and stuff. So that's one way of dealing with it. But the subs thing is just like the mysterious part when it seems so obvious. The Click came on and made a big difference. So you'd think, even just to save people's legs at 2-0 up, you'd think after Click played well against Wolves, give him half an hour again in this game just to give him another half hour playing well and give somebody a break. But none of that seems to happen. So
just to break the game up as well and kind of make it scrappy and disjointed when you're away from home and 2-0 up, you sort of think, well, come on, kill the game then now, I guess.
What have you made of Rocker so far? I think Adams I'm fairly pleased with. He seems to be doing his job in there, breaking stuff up. I don't think we've seen much of Rocker at this stage.
No, I really like Adams. Like you say, I think he just gets through a lot of work. He seems to always be involved, really like industrious player. Rocker, I don't know if that he kind of didn't have the chance to shine as much today in the sense of those two nets kind of getting tangled up. It just makes it very, very scrappy in the middle of the pitch. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think we've, probably like you say, we've not really seen the best of him. He's just kind of been normal central midfielder, which I guess is what we've asked for, isn't it? They just get in there and do central midfieldery things.
I guess the worry there is how we got overrun after Southampton made that change, because we just couldn't get a foothold in the game. And then you've got I am one of the people who likes Adam Forshaw, and I thought the first few games of pre-season he looked like he was playing pretty well in what we were trying to do. He seemed to have got the knack of winning. Any loose ball was kind of coming to Forshaw in the first couple of games, and he was going straight forward with it. But the way that Southampton were able to just make a change to a system that Marsh and half the team understand very well from having played it at Red Bull clubs before, how that seemed to just completely then be our midfield out of the question, because that's where, well, after that, Adams and Rocker just couldn't seem to, they're the players you're looking for to get the game back under control for us, and we had to take Rocker off and bring Forshaw on to try and do it. So, and there'll be better midfields out there than Southampton's to bother us.
It felt like as soon as they started being proactive in the game, we didn't quite know what to do. They started quite defensively, I felt, and let us push onto them, and we were doing the net thing again. And I thought Aronson, probably not as good against Wolves, but he was annoying for them, wasn't he? And I felt like he was dangerous still against them. But I don't know. I don't know exactly what went wrong. It just felt like they all of a sudden had loads more players up front, and we had no defenders to deal with them. We didn't seem to take account of the fact they had more strikers, and therefore there'd be man spare at the back post to put it in the net.
They lulled us into a false sense of security by being so sad and pathetic for 60 minutes.
Very tricky.
It's kind of been the narrative of the week with them, that they all hate the manager and hate the new system because they've been trying to play 3-5-2 and they got absolutely destroyed by Tottenham doing that. And then they started it against us and they looked rubbish, really. When I say I couldn't work out whether we were playing well or not, it's just the quality of the game is what that question's about. We were clearly better than them. But then going back to friendly old 4-2-2-2. Maybe it just was they knew what they're doing, they know how to play that, and everybody was quite happy and relaxed and back. And so it'll be interesting. I wonder if Hasenhüttl will switch them back to 3-5-2 again next week, lads.
On the positive side, we've got no strikers again. That's good, isn't it?
You're definitely not bringing a happy vibe to this, are you?
We haven't lost, have we? It is,
No.
someone has put that in the got the YouTube comments up here. Mr. Meat Killer, we didn't lose, he has said. It kind of does feel that way, though, doesn't it?
The last half hour of a game like that will do that to you.
And the start where you lose your brilliant young striker isn't on the bench, presumably injured, unless anything's come through about that. And then the England number 9 that you've been banking on, obviously not going to get injured this season because he was injured all last season. And what minute was it he went off?
Oh, early.
About 20 minutes in?
26.
I mean, he was clearly injured from earlier than that as well. Dan James was on the sideline chatting to Marsh and stuff, wasn't he? Ready to go on.
It was just before the drinks break, wasn't it? It looked like they were about to make the change, and that was 5 minutes early.
And then when he came off, we got to see him standing with Marsh on the touchline, just rubbing his groin quite a long time. It was a good long, lingering groin rubbing shot. So if we got nothing else out of the game...
You've got a gif out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan James nearly scored as well. When he did come on, there was that nice little through ball from Jackie where he took it on his left and had the shot. That was a shot. That was good.
He did what we just asked Dan James to do, didn't he, there? Where he got the ball out of his feet quickly and hit it at the goal, which, fair enough. It was a good save, that. And that's all we ask of Dan James, to do that sometimes rather than just stop and get tangled up and confused.
It's interesting that the change at the start of the second half was for James to drop back and Rodrigo to go to 9, which...
Goal machine, that's why.
I mean, we've not really talked about Rodrigo's goal yet, which was a great goal. The first one, the second one as well, but the first one in particular...
It was Pascal's birthday this week as well, and he's nicked a goal off him.
Oh, he's a rob, and he didn't even look humble about it. And probably, if there is a highlight from today, it will be Rodrigo's celebration of the second goal, because he's entertainingly goofy a lot of the time, and that's a very goofy celebration. He kind of puts on a funny face, waves his arms around and kicking his legs. There's no kind of, it's not a Luciano Becchio kind of bow and arrow thing, which Usain Bolt stole from him, or it's not that. I won't even mention what that scummer at Old Trafford does. Just dancing around funny in front of the away fans, and I like that. So that was good. But the quality of the goal straight after half-time, Harrison's cross gets better and better when you see it in a replay, and then it's a really good finish from Rodrigo, just in front of the first post, or in first of the front post, whichever you prefer. And then, into the roof of the net. It's perfectly done.
It was a very similar chance to the one that Bamford messed up in the first half. So Rodrigo better than Bamford anyway. It doesn't matter that he won't play again this season.
Well, it might not if he finishes like that. Bamford's, I think he was further in front or further in first of the front post, and he shouldn't have been trying to finish from there. It seemed like he didn't really know how far ahead of the goal he was. The smart move, obviously, as a striker coach, I would have suggested to him that you're trying to just flick it on into the penalty area, or take a touch and pass it backwards or something, because he couldn't have scored from there. It would have been incredible if he had, but
that doesn't fit in with your kick it hard at the goal advice, does it?
Should have done that.
He was facing the wrong direction. He'd had to back heel it really hard at the goal. That might have worked.
There was the weird moment in the first half when Ward-Prowse was about 40 yards out and facing away from goal, and you could hear the home crowd shouting, "Shoot!"
Yeah, I don't know if they've just got like real inflated expectations of what he can do for them, and then he had the ball in their penalty area and just passed it out so we could have a corner as well. So maybe he's not having the right sort of season.
Although there was that moment when we were all slagging him off, saying what a boring footballer he is, and then he sort of flicked it over a Leeds player's head and then smashed a crossfield pass on his weak foot to his teammate, and we was like, oh, that was quite good actually, fair enough.
I think we were just saying he's a bit of a boring man to look at as much as anything. If you're going to spend like 45 million quid on a midfielder, you want them. Like, Calvin's got a lovely smile. Rafinha's got a nice smile and a sort of killer edge about him. You want to spend money on I'm just listing players we've sold and I wish we hadn't. If you're going to spend a lot of money on a good player, buy one from Leeds, is what I'm saying. Don't get one from Southampton.
For the money, it wouldn't have needed that for Charles de Kettler, but you could see he was a player you could get excited about. Whereas James Ward-Prowse is just kind of like, whatever, does free kicks, doesn't he? And even his free kick in this game was rubbish.
It was, wasn't it? Because I was saying, that's a long way out, as he was lining up to take it, and you were both just going, don't say that. I was like, he will still score, probably, but no, he came nowhere near.
And I had the assist for the second goal down as James Ward-Prowse just because it was such a good through ball. I assumed it was him, and then it wasn't, so we didn't even do that.
Was it that child that we nearly signed?
I think it was Sacred Mary.
Yeah, it was your mate Mary.
Yeah, so Mara came on, Sekou Mara.
Yes, he's the one.
Did we want him?
Yeah, we did. He was the one from Bordeaux, wasn't he, that we were linked with at one point?
We've been linked with everyone.
Yeah, trying to keep track of that is beyond me. But
forced a good save out of Melier as well.
We could have lost. You see, all these people saying we won. No, we didn't win. We didn't lose.
We didn't win.
We didn't win.
We didn't
lose. But we could have lost. We could have won as well.
Feels a lot like we lost. I'll tell you how I know it feels like we lost. I'm in two minds about whether I'm watching Match of the Day or not.
At what point did you bet against Leeds?
When Southampton went 1-0 up. I failed to do it. When Leeds went 1-0 up. Sorry. Failed to do it when we went 2-0 up, which is what I should have done.
The last 30 minutes have just scrambled everybody's brains, haven't they? This is the thing. You no longer know who went up and down in the match. I don't know if we won or lost. And the players couldn't cope with whatever had happened from Southampton. Ralph Hasenhüttl has been the only one I can find who's spoken so far. He said, and he's having a right little rabbity moment. I'm sorry that we destroyed a few headlines, which were maybe written when we were 2-0 down. But it was a good comeback. When you're 2 down, you go all in and go for everything, which is just a stock. I think he just spins a wheel from his Red Bull Rolodex and says that. When you're 2 down, you go all in, go for everything. But I think I'm sorry we destroyed a few headlines is Hasenhüttl's own thing, isn't it?
We're 4th anyway.
That's good.
At the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say if you want to watch Match of the Day later, it depends on what Scum do against Brentford, really. It's hard
to know what to want in that one.
How many points are we off the bottom 3?
We are 4 points off the bottom 3.
That sounds good.
So that's fine. That's the sort of margin I want. I mean, 4 points from the opening 2 games is a decent return. I definitely would have taken this at the start of the season. I'd have probably taken 3.
As Ronnie Hilton sang back in the days when it was 2 points for a win. Get 2 at home and 1 away.
That'll
do. Do you want to know what Jesse Marsh is saying?
Go on then.
It's a terrible feeling. I'm going to do it in a Yorkshire accent just to burst that balloon. It's a terrible feeling to play well and walk away with what feels like less than 1 point. It's Heckenbottom's back. But that's also progress for us, to be disappointed with a point. It's always in my mind how to be glass half full. The group is making progress. So there you go. You have been a right miserable bugger through all this, and there is the positivity. To be a miserable bugger because we only drew at Southampton, that's progress for us, is to be disappointed by drawing at Southampton. You feel that? Do you feel like you've progressed as a person this afternoon?
I mean, it is right. Last year we got battered there. I know it was 1-0, but we did get battered there. Whereas today,
that's good.
We battered them for a long proportion of that game.
But also,
can you have a long proportion? I don't know.
Yes,
you probably can. You'd have a big proportion, probably. Whatever it was.
All the proportions you want can be yours. And then the fact that the group is making progress, that's the other thing to celebrate.
Has he said anything about clarity?
We've only got one. I'm basing it off one Phil H tweet.
The next tweet.
Oh, he says, of course, there's a couple of changes that I'm looking back on and thinking, could I make them earlier and manipulate the game with the guys off the bench? Which, yes.
He said he was going to do before the game.
Yeah, you don't need to look back. You just need to look back to the things he was going to do before it started.
Check your own notes. For Christ's sake.
Yeah, it's funny.
Well, that's fine though, isn't it? Really?
We're unbeaten and we're 4th.
And maybe Bamford getting injured is good because we now have to buy a striker.
Yeah, I guess so.
Here's hoping Junior Firpo suffers a setback and then we can get a left back as well.
And a new right back as well. Although
can't be writing off Rasmus.
No, we can't yet.
So soon. And
it's been a bit of a worrying start for him, I think it is fair to say.
It's fine, Luke Aylin's back in soon.
That is true, and Stuart Dallas is out jogging. So he can play with a a chipped femur or whatever. He's held together with pins, but he can still do 20 minutes.
I'm desperate to put this on a positive footing.
Well, I did look at the XG, which means a bit of something.
Mm-hmm.
We were better on that. 0.89 to 1.94. So
we're loads better.
So we're loads better on that.
Yeah.
So we can.
Don't really remember all those chances, but did we just have good ones?
I guess the Rodrigo one is literally into an open net from a centimetre out, so that probably counts as one, more or less. In fact, it'd be interesting to see what that is on the XG chart, because if it's any less, the manager I've seen Rodrigo's finishing before.
I've seen Jack Harrison miss from there a few times.
Yeah, that is in the Luke Varney Southampton one, to take it back to a darker Southampton era. That was one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. So yeah, you can miss from that range.
And the rest of football today, so Brighton 0, Newcastle 0. That's a game that I'm glad we weren't watching, although Brighton have had 7 shots on target to Newcastle's 1. So you can shove that up your regime. Wolves 0, Fulham 0. Glad we weren't watching that too. Imagine watching.
I said I was in two minds about watching Match of the Day.
Yeah.
Probably won't bother.
Morgan Gibbs-White got booked in the 95th minute for an argument. How about that with Mitrovic?
That's something to watch.
Yeah. So there's real fun and games. So nothing happened in that match. And then obviously Manchester City against Bournemouth has gone how you would expect it would when one team has Erling Haaland up front and the other team has Kiefer Moore. So compared to some of what has happened today, an exciting 2-2 draw with a couple of good goals for us, some annoying goals for them, a group that made progress.
There were some genuine positives in it. I know, because if we'd gone the other way and we'd been the team to pull it back to 2-2, and we'd maybe started badly but then had the last 60 minutes of the game, we'd be really positive. And we're saying the pressing worked, the set pieces look good. But as it is, you go, stupid thing. Yeah. Tear it all up. Start again.
We've improved on our corresponding results last season as well. We drew with Wolves at home. We've beaten them this season. We were crap at Southampton away last year, and we've got a point there today. So, as Jesse says, progress.
Although it's Southampton away last year when we first had Dan James up front, and we're back to that again today. So how much progress? On that progress, Marsh says, on signing a striker, I think it's something we need to continue to evaluate. Which I don't know if he's removed a few conditions from that. Were we thinking about continuing to evaluate it? But I don't know. I think we were regressively thinking about it on Thursday, whereas now we're just continuing to evaluate it. But I'm sure we are still aggressively evaluating it. Gelhardt had a dead leg.
Yes, I've just seen it in the comments actually.
And both him and Bamford are expected to train next week.
Gelhardt, is he exceptionally unlucky that he seems to constantly miss his chance with a little injury of his own every time someone gets injured or he's about to get a start or something? It feels like he always manages to pick up a bit of an injury. Because I think at the end of last season there were times he might have got in when we were sticking with Dan James up front.
All through last season it was kind of they didn't report a lot, but I think a lot of the times when it was like, why ain't Joffrey on the pitch? It's because he wasn't fit. But I don't know if it's you remember your teenage body. It's a painful process growing up.
I suppose it is.
And you weren't being asked to run around in a hot field all the time, unless, I don't know what your school days were particularly like.
Hot teenage bodies in a field.
Yes.
Should we leave it?
We're back to, because you've reminded me of the shot of, they had a lingering shot just before half-time of Jesse Marsh gulping down water from a bottle. It was far too much. If anybody just drinking water to that extent was not something anybody needed to watch. It was like, change the shot. There'll be a football game going on over there.
Put Jack Harrison changing his top back on the screen. That's what we want.
Bra on, bra off, wasn't it?
The stream we were watching, who was the co-commentator?
David Phillips.
You said his name that many times and I still refuse to accept he was a footballer.
Because you're thinking of Dave Benson Phillips, so you don't want to think about David Phillips, who played for Norwich.
But even he felt the need to comment on Jack Harrison's physique when he took his shirt off. He went, been doing a lot of gym work over the summer. Yeah. He was swooning over him, as we all were.
He commented on Marsh drinking water as well. He was like, certainly enjoying drinking that.
He's quite a dramatic drinker, is Jesse, isn't he? He does it in press conference as well. Someone will ask a question, he'll go, yeah, and then he'll fire into the answer.
It was good seeing how everybody was coping in those conditions, because there was poor Leo Helder had his away shirt just over his head like a towel within the first 5 minutes. I think his Norwegian physique or his Norwegian skin was not happy in those conditions. And then it cut to the Southampton bench, and they were all doing it. They all had the shirts on. Oh, worst thing about today?
Jesse in a t-shirt.
Not Jesse related.
The kit's clashing a little bit.
You're close with the kits, but not the ones on the pitch.
You're unhappy about the training stuff, aren't you?
These warm-up shirts are an old Scum Away kit. Blue with orange piping. It's an old Adidas Scum Away kit, and I don't want to see them again. They wore them, the under-21s had them in their first match, and Dan James, I thought it might just be because Dan James was playing and they wanted to look, I kind of make you feel comfortable. But I don't want to see Leeds United's first team ever wearing a Scum Away kit. I mean, there's some close ones because they've had white away kits and stuff, but it's never just been a straight copy, and it's really just freaking me out because it just looks like we're wearing that kit, and it's too recent as well. It's only from maybe 5 years ago or something. So it's in my memory of seeing them wearing that kit, and then our players running around in it, and I keep seeing them and thinking, why is Wes Brown warming up for us? And then I look again. And
I don't think Wes Brown was that recent, I've got to be honest, for Scum. I think that was about 10 years ago.
I don't know. I dislike them so much I don't even know who plays for them or the names of any of their managers.
Your beloved United, come on. We know the way it is.
But yeah, I'm not happy about that. I'm more annoyed about that than the result. Result, I'll take a draw, that's okay, but no.
Okay. I'm going to go and remember my hot teenage body. And leave everyone else with that image as well.
Yeah, you must have some photos.
Yeah, I'll speak to Phil Hay Monday about his as well.
Okay.
A man who I can't imagine as a teenager somehow.
I bet he was one.
Probably was. I'll ask him if he was.
Yes. Good. The athletics knew extending into Mondays to get the real hard hitting.
Were you a child once, Phil? You sure? You were a bald child though, weren't you? Come on. We know. I had hair once. Anyway. Right, that'll do. Speak to you later. Bye.
The Match Ball.